Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Oh my goodness, we have got a lot to talk about today, right here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, and on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Hey, Andre. Hey, Bernadette. Everybody like and share, like and share, like and share, cha-cha-cha, like and share. We got a lot to talk about today. And it's like you can't really every day is a great news day. You don't quite know which story to choose. But what I try to do is talk to all of you and find out what you think of the stories that are the most impactful. Then I have to look around and read the tea leaves and do my own research and say, well, I think we've got to visit or revisit some issues, which is why we're looking at DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. We look at diversity, color, ethnicity, religion. Okay. Inclusion. Are you including or excluding people? Okay. Equity. Where does everybody fit so they get their piece of the pie? But accessibility. Let us not forget those who are differently abled, as my father has put it down through the years. People who are hearing impaired, visually impaired, physically challenged. No one thinks about being physically challenged until you break a leg, sprain an ankle. When you start looking for that ramp, oh yeah, your life changes. Trust and believe. And all of this is on the line. The LGBTQ plus community, women, everybody's in on the DEIA benefit package, whether you know it or not. And yet here we are. And we've been moving in this direction for quite some time. My father's often said that slave masters never retire. And that is true. And so everybody's been pushing all of the rights and the gains that Black, brown, indigenous people, that women have gained, that the LGBTQ plus community, that all the vulnerable communities, that differently abled, all of these communities, all the rights that they have gained are being peeled back. Even your right to own land in the United States is being peeled back. You increasingly can buy your house, but you don't own the land underneath it. Yeah. I mean, that's what made the American dream so cherished to people all over the world, because in most places in the world, monarchies and corporations own the land if you are able to buy a house. So think about that, everybody. And that is why this fight is in this context. Indeed, we are looking at, many people are saying that maybe 100,000 plus Black people will lose their jobs. But classes of workers are looking at hiring freezes right now, or they're having their job offers rescinded. We had Congressman Jonathan Jackson, our first congressional district in Illinois, on Reverend Jesse Jackson's nationally syndicated show, which you all know I produce and host every Sunday, nationally syndicated show. And he said, oh, wait a minute. People have had their job offers rescinded. There are hiring freezes. We are looking at people who will have contracts that have been withdrawn. I mean, you just keep on going. I mean, this is a really, really big deal. And some people will have their contracts under review. And so I'm hearing some buzzing. I need to find out what that is. Okay, everybody, let's find out what that is. Okay, very good. And so we have to see exactly. You know what? I'm going to start again because I don't want that buzzing when we come back in. Okay. So we're going to start in. So I can give this so we can edit it properly. We're going to start in 30 seconds.
Okay. Let me try to fluff my hair then, because I look kind of.
No, your hair looked great. Trust and believe, I will tell.
Okay, thanks. Because it felt flat at the top, like I had a weird head shape.
No, I let people know I am not that girl. I let folks know, like, do a switch up, change up here. We're coming up.
We love you because of that.
I mean, look, I think beauty belongs to everybody. Help me out, even if you don't, honey. I got my compact right here. That's all right. I'll work it out. We're up in 2. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Let's talk about DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. All of that's been withdrawn by the stroke of a pen this week. Boy, President Trump has been fulfilling these promises right and left, left and right. The January 6th insurrectionists, they've been released. And I know that there's a lot more to that story in time. Maybe we'll find out. I don't know. Now the RFK, JFK, MLK files will be released. At least that's what they say. They say that the assassination files will be released. But some people are worried that a lot of details that are very, very personal and salacious will be released about each of these people, particularly Dr. King. Mm-hmm. People are human. Get over it, everybody. Get over it. And they've had 50, 60 years to redact all of this. So I'm skeptical. But I am glad that there is a spirit in the air that I'm glad somebody's responded to this. Because we need to know what happened. I asked my mother, what was the most awful thing that has happened in your lifetime? She said, oh, without blinking, the Kennedy assassination. I said, really? Because I know how deeply tied they were to Dr. King. She said, when they killed him, everything came apart. Mm-hmm. She said, nothing has been the same. And even when your father and I started working for Dr. King, he said, I won't make it through the decade. If they killed him, they're going to get me. So that's part of the reason that he pushed my father. Hey, no, I need you. Yeah, I know you're about to finish up your master's. No, you come and work for me right now. Because I see what, Jesse, I see where you're going. And I need to pour into you so you can do this. Because this ministry that you're going to enter into, that I've got, it requires a very unique skill set. Mm-hmm. So think about that. Think about that. No matter what is released about anyone, what we want to know is why they were taken out. That's what we want to know. That's what we need to know. All of them and all of their humanness and humanity, I don't care about that. In fact, I think it is amazing that in spite of everyone's challenges, that they put their lives on the line anyway. Knowing that they were being spied upon, knowing that they were the crosshairs of an assassin's rifle. And they just kept on going. So let's find out about that. But right now, and it is in that context. I mean, we've had a week in which we've had whiplash. Now, we're looking at the end of DEIA. Many of us do not know how much of our lives have been built on the civil rights laws, the voting rights laws. These laws, fair housing, they changed the world as we knew it. Or as I will say, Ariel, Dr. Amar, that we don't know any other world. But trust and believe there is another world. And we're about to see it. Because now this is not just something, and I know you will give us more details, Attorney Terry O'Neill, President Emeritus of the National Organization of Women, and Livonia Perryman, veteran journalist, award-winning journalist, radio, television, on both sides of the mic and the lens. Ariel Gold, Fellowship of Reconciliation, of course, you come out of Code Pink, and social justice advocate and brilliant research scientist, Dr. Alia Amar. Let's talk about this, because this is not just applicable to the public sector. This is applicable, intentionally so, to the private sector. So now the government will have the mandate, now this is their mandate, to go into corporations and find out who they've hired. And if it looks too diverse, that corporation's got a problem. A lot of people who are very comfortable are very uncomfortable right now. Very uncomfortable. And they ought to be. But we shouldn't be defeated. So we need to talk about that. Because we've got our work cut out for us. But people have been trying to say it. I'm going to start with you, Attorney Terry O'Neill, because in fact, you've been preaching intersectionality for years when you were the president of NOW. You were going to all kinds of different conventions in your effort to bring different communities together, because you said these people are coming at us.
Yes. Right.
You are, and this was more than a decade ago. You said you have no idea. We don't have time for these fights with each other because these people are coming for us. It was something that you saw. So talk to me. First of all, DEIA, what is it? And what do you think about with a stroke of a pen? With a stroke of a pen, here we are.
Yeah, the when I was growing up, when I was coming up, and the Civil Rights Act was passed, and then the Voting Rights Act was passed, and now you have it. At that point, it was, oh wow, we have a legal prohibition on workplace discrimination. And so when I graduated law school in 1980, I was a beneficiary of affirmative action. Right, the law firm that was doing the hiring realized that it didn't have enough women. Their competitors were hiring women, and suddenly the class that the when I was hired that year, over 60% of the people hired into that law firm were women. They were all white women. Let's be clear. And this was in New Orleans. There were no women of color coming into it. So I say that to set the stage. DEI is what has followed on the heels of affirmative action. After affirmative action begins to be dismantled, largely by the federal courts, right? Then what comes in its place is diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility programs in private companies and in the federal government. Well, if you can't have, actual affirmative action, right? Which is quotas. And I am a true believer in quotas. I think people who don't like quotas simply don't understand what racist, patriarchal capitalism is all about, right? Let's be clear. Racial patriarchal capitalism is about mediocre white men getting really good jobs and all the rest of us having to fight each other for what's left. So just to come back to DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and ability, those programs were intended to, I guess, not take the place, but they come in on the heels of affirmative action being dismantled. Now, what Trump has done is to say, oh, all of DEIA programs are now illegal, right? There's a couple of things, though, going on with that I think it's really important. All of these jobs that have just, job offers that have been rescinded, people getting fired and that sort of thing, part of that is to establish the racial superiority of white people.
Explain that.
Well, who do you think they're firing? They're going to be firing the Black and brown people and many of the women, right? So that's what's going on there. The first tranche of people fired are the people who actually are working in DEI departments of the federal government, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to work in these programs. So we know that they're trying to target Black and brown workers and fire them. And in their place, of course, will come white men, right? The jobs are not going away. I think that's really important to understand. These jobs are not going away. What is happening is certain people doing the jobs are being pushed out, and then white men will come in to take those jobs. But the other piece I think we really need to be aware of is that these jobs are intended to be privatized. This is not going to be the government with accountability in a democratic process hiring people to provide services. It is going to be private hedge fund managers and billionaires taking over the services that taxpayers pay for, putting mediocre white men into those positions that they've pushed the Black and brown people out of. And they're doing it now, not just to provide services to people, but to profit from the provision of services to people. Now, if you like your technology, if your technology always works perfectly, mine never has, just imagine how much you're going to like it when the tech broligarchs are in charge of all these government services. Because remember, the tech industry's attitude is, if you can't make it work, you're just too stupid or too old or too dumb or whatever to make my little toy work that I made. And I have no responsibility to make it a really halfway decent product. That has been the tech industry's modus operandi forever. Remember, if you ever managed a division of any kind of organization, you say, well, how do we get this up on the website? Well, this, da, da, da. Yeah. that's I'm ranting now, but I just want to make clear two things. The purpose here is to replace black and brown workers with mediocre white workers. And secondly, the next thing is to replace government services with for-profit entities.
But I don't. That's not a rant. I think we need to understand why Elon Musk is hovering so closely. Vivek Ramaswamy was overseeing Indoge regulations policy.
Mhm.
Elon Musk is overseeing AI.
Mhm.
He's overseeing contracts, the money, and he's a direct beneficiary.
Right.
But no one is saying that. I mean, it's unbelievable. Lavonia, what do you see?
I see exactly what the attorney just said. She hit it right on the nose. I almost said that, we have a full show in one paragraph, because she really said we need to understand this is not a new movement. This is a ongoing movement now, and I'm gonna just say it's not just a party movement. It is a country, culture, corporate movement in America. I keep telling people, welcome to the real America that we're dealing with. I just said, just think about this. They penciled us in with DEI. Let me back up. They penciled us in with civil rights. Then they penciled us in with affirmative action. Then they penciled us in with DEI and erased it all. That's exactly what is happening. And so the folk who really are being penalized are the folk you just mentioned. Black and brown, females, and those who don't have the information. Information is power. I'm going to go back to education. Information is powerful. And so what do? The Welcome to America, the corporate people, you just mentioned Elon and others. They have captured, bought, and they are rewriting the script around how messages are disseminated, not just in your neighborhood, but in the country and in the world. TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, all of that was a plan, a master plan. If you eliminate how messages are created, disseminated, and received, that is hitting the guts of how we get information. And so our information is being corralled within a group of people who are the corporate heads, like everyone here has agreed, corporate heads. And guess who is not included? Black people, brown people, and females. This is a plan, a long-term plan to say men who do not look like the men that I love are the ones that are going to be in power. So what do? They eliminate, they don't eliminate the individuals, they eliminate the way they live. They eliminate where they live. They eliminate, excuse me, how they live. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is connected to the job you have. Lifestyle is connected to the house you live in. Lifestyle is connected to where you live. You just said, Jackson, that we have bought houses, and people need to know this. Folk have bought houses and been so pleased, and I think the program is wonderful, but they bought the house and not the land. And so there are people on the internet today will say, I'll buy your house no matter what it looks like, no matter how it looks. You just tell us the address, we'll give you the money. They're looking for the land. I did a story on that, and the guy said, I don't care about what the house look like. We're going to level the house. We just need the land. This is about land, men who have money, men who want to keep their money, and men that don't look like me.
Well, I mean, that's why the World Economic Forum telegraphed out this message. You will own nothing and you will like it.
And that impacts your lifestyle. It impacts your lifestyle long term.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's why I think we have to understand that the billionaires have overtaken both of the major parties, Ariel. We have different messaging coming from both parties. But I think that there's something else that's going on, which is why the plurality of Americans are independent, whether they tilt in, for one party or another in an election. Because there's something that we know is, Well, we know this is not fair. And I think the quiet part, Ariel, is being said out loud. I mean, look, I went to whitehouse.gov. First of all, they eliminated everybody, the Spanish portal, the Spanish language portal.
Hmm.
And it said to go to homepage. It just lifted. It said go home. You gotta you gotta understand what's going on here. It says ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. That is so insulting, everybody, because affirmative action and DEI only accept those who are qualified to be there. That's not the same as what happens with legacy, as nepotism. You may or may not be qualified. But with affirmative action, with DEI, the baseline is that you meet these requirements. You're always going to find someone who's going to have a higher test score than you. But it is a combination of gifts. I mean, there were people who ran faster, who hit the ball farther and all of that than Jackie Robinson. But when you added everything up, he was the man who carried a whole nation on his shoulders. He was equipped to do that. Because what he had done that Josh Gibson hadn't done, Satchel Paige and everybody else, and they were great players and they were great men. This man was the first four-letter man at UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
He went into the Army as an officer. He was riding in Fort Hood, which was one of the most racist bases in the country. And this man was the color of ebony. Ebony youth man, gorgeous man, gorgeous. And he was talking with the wife of one of his buddies, one of his fellow officers. She was very fair. She looked like a white woman. The bus driver on the base told him to move to the back. He refused. He was court-martialed. And the Pittsburgh Courier picked up the story. That's a black newspaper. And they said, this is the guy, the Branch Rickey, who really controls the Dodgers. This is the guy who's going to help to desegregate this. Because if he can do this down at Fort Hood, Ariel, he can take all the hits that are coming his way. And he took them. And he died at 53, looking like he was 93. But so, I mean, Ariel, DEI, DEIA, whew. I mean, I'm thinking about all of the people who are going to lose these jobs. It's stunning, and they're talking about having a cultural change, a shift. I mean, what do you see, Ariel?
Well, Trump's fulfilling his campaign promises, and you got to give him credit for that because the Democrats don't do that. But when Trump promised to make America great again, let's not sugarcoat it. What he means is to make America segregated again. And if you're a white supremacist, a white Christian nationalist, that's what that means to you. And those were the glory days when there was legal white Christian male privilege. And, you know, I've been thinking a lot back to the rise of Nazism in Germany, because it's something as well that happened this quickly and this unexpectedly, right? Like the Nazi Party, they made a play for power, and Hitler made this play for power, and they lost at first, right? They were kicked out, and folks laughed at them, and they were like, no, this is never going to happen. And even, you know, the right-wing conservative parties, the old establishment parties, they said, no, these guys are fools, right? They're stomping around in the streets in their boots, very Proud Boy-like, very, very Proud Boy-like, and screaming about making Germany great again. Actually, those words and the same language, right? Like, this isn't fair. This is unfair. They're playing this game unfair to us, and we need to make it fair. And then if we look at Hitler's actual rise to power, we see that the conservative right-wing establishment started to play ball with him, thinking that he could be a tool that was used and for them to stay in power. And we see that with Pete Hegseth, who just got confirmed. Only 3 Republican members of Congress voted for a dude who's drunk all the time. I mean, that is not the old conservative party. The drunk wife beater guy who can't keep it together at all. But they're falling in line, and they think it's useful to them because they want to stay in power. And then, the other thing that really struck me, and I actually kind of went back and was like watching a documentary on the rise of the Nazi Party and kind of these details.
Mm-hmm.
And Hitler in the first 6 months, he upended law, he opened Dachau, dissolved the power of the parliament, declaring emergency powers. And it really made me think, like, as we're watching this rapidly happening, and we know what the end goal is. And in Nazi Germany at the time, the scapegoat were the Jews as the outsiders, right? The Jews, it was actually not just the Jews, the communists, the trade unionists, the gays, but the Jews were the largest, kind of group, and were very much in the trade union. Anyway, and here in America, it's people of color. It is people of color, and the first line of attack against them are the immigrants, because they're the low-hanging fruit, because you can go after that legality. And so when Trump is doing all of this, what I think is, this is heading us back to an updated version of Jim Crow. And we need to be careful, and we need to pay attention, and we need to think out, and this is where I was like, back to Nazi Germany, like, what did they miss? What were the tools that they had, that their parliament had, that our Congress has, that we as people have, the courts have? What are the tools to stop this in its tracks? Because if not, this is where we're heading.
Dr. Alia Amar, what say you?
So I have a litany of thoughts. First of all, I feel as though I have been waiting for 9 years for people to reach the conclusions that I reached in 2016. And, sometimes I sound a little bit crazy because I'll begin connecting the dots and saying, this is where we're headed. And in 2016, I began to say that this looks a lot like the rise and fall of the Third Reich. This looks a lot like Mein Kampf.
That's right.
And I was really, really concerned. And the saving grace at that time was that administration was not coherent, cohesive. They had no real plan. There was a man who kind of had an ability to tap on certain elements of disgruntled sentiment within the country and use that to propel him into office. But once he got there, it was like, well, wait a minute, what do we even do? And so we spent 4 years in chaos that cost us in terms of over 1 million American lives during the COVID pandemic. But then this time around, we've got the Heritage Foundation and other conservative think tanks contributing to put together Project 2025. We have an American population who, no matter how much time they spend online clicking one thing or the other, seem really, really unwilling to absorb, the impact of news, and unable to discriminate anymore between what is active, valid news. Unable to make that search and challenge. And so this time around, in 5 days, we've seen the dismantling of 60 years or more of hard fought progress. So in honor of that, I want to do something that Malcolm X used to do. So Malcolm X was very fond of looking at what words mean. I was looking at the comments section, and there was an individual who seems to still not quite get it when it comes to how affirmative action works. We don't get jobs because of our sex. We don't get jobs because we're Black. We get jobs because we're very well educated, or we have high trade skills, or we have the ability to do a job that historically we have been blocked from accessing. And so affirmative action simply said, let these qualified people have jobs in ways that benefit us and benefit the economy. So this push against DEI, it's really easy to push against something that's just acronyms. So in the spirit of Malcolm X, please allow me to share this for a moment. Diversity means the quality or state of being composed of many different elements or types. This country is diverse in many parts of it. There are many parts of it that remain homogenous, meaning that you may see people who are all of similar race or have similar religious background or similar views. But that's harder and harder to do. And it's not as easy to even turn your television on and do it. And we certainly got homogenized propaganda pumped into our living rooms throughout the mid 20th century to tell us that people like this panel didn't exist. But diversity says that there's a quality or state of that's composed of many different elements or types. So what's the opposite when you oppose diversity? When you oppose diversity, what you're attempting to do is to impose uniformity, and not just of people, but also of thought. We're trying to make everybody think the same thing, do the same thing, look the same way. Invariableness, conformity is an antonym of diversity, and so you're looking at taking things that now have a broad range and narrowing that range both in thought, physicality, and presence. Equity. What's so darn dangerous about equity? Well, equity means that we want people to appreciate, here's the definition, the quality of being fair and impartial. Now, that seems like a no-brainer. That kind of seems like the kind of thing that we say to preschoolers, friends don't hurt friends, everyone share, please be kind. But it appears to be a burden for certain segments of society. I mean, this is really, really problematic. People don't want this quality of being fair and impartial in the workplace, and they are fighting to dismantle it. So what is the opposite of that? If we're fighting against something, then we're imposing the opposite. So what's the opposite? Inequity and imbalance. So now you're saying, when you say imbalance, that we have certain percentages of people of various religions, ethnicities, populations of educated and non-educated, populations of people who have limited access, populations of people who, in the country that I spent 6 years living in, we call them people of determination. We didn't say handicapped or disabled. It takes a lot of determination to be like the blind man that used to get on the metro train with me and get off in Union Station. I could barely navigate the thing with my glasses and my vision, and he was blind, but he got up every day and he navigated that and he got to work. Why? Because he was capable of doing the job as long as someone had that door open to him and didn't predetermine that he didn't belong there. But when we have imbalance, we say that all those percentages and those people, well, let's just say that we start with the assumption that 100% of a percentage of America does deserve to be there. And historically, that has been white males. Last one here, in the spirit of Malcolm X. So when we look at inclusion as a word, inclusion means the action or the state of including or being included within a group or a structure. I'm going to emphasize structure here, because if you go to many of the medical schools, for instance, or if you go to Ivy League campuses and you see picture after picture of the graduating classes, like I had the privilege of doing for many, many years. The first time I did it, I was at the University of Chicago getting training in my particular field. And they have a whole line of graduating school pictures. And I got to tell you, It is white, 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 white. And then there's somebody who's passing in the 1920s. And I used to walk past that picture like, go on, brother. I know it was a struggle. But he was there and he graduated, which meant that he knew as much as his peers did. He was as capable. But it is not until after the civil rights movement, after Dr. King and Malcolm X and Medgar Allen and Medgar Evers and the thousands of allies and Jesse Jackson, the thousands of allies that it took to change the laws of this country so that you could simply say, let's include people who are just as intelligent, just as capable, have just as much potential. Let's include them within our medical school structure, within our hospital structure, within our political structures. Let's include people. But again, this really seems to be a burden on folks. What's the opposite? When we go to the anonym, what are we trying to do? We're trying to exclude certain people. And more importantly, another anonym is omit. And as this administration has attempted to stop us from seeing things like videos of the Tuskegee Airmen who were responsible for safeguarding our lives and the lives of people in Europe against tyranny, as they try to erase and omit our history, let me tell you, you guys might have a problem with DEI. I have a problem with bad antonyms. And so I'm willing to wake up with every ally that I can find or get and fight every single day because I'm not going back. And if that's too difficult for you, then I don't know how you got your job.
Well, I mean, I'm hearing you because what we're going to have to do, so you're going to need all of these. We're going to have to pay attention to all of these voices in real time once again, because we need our civil rights leaders and we need the leaders like a Malcolm X who changed our minds about who we were. Because, I mean, and this is where we see the importance of civil rights and a changed mind. Because now we've got to change our minds about what we're doing here, Ariel, and Terry and Livonia and Alia and Dr. LaShawn Latrice, because, when I look at these people, we never really fully appreciated them and understood them in real time. You didn't understand. I mean, any of these folks, Rabbi Heschel, you didn't get him in real time. You didn't. You did. I mean, you did not get Gandhi in real time. That's why you kill him. You didn't understand Malcolm in real time because Malcolm X was not a civil rights leader, but he was a change agent. Because what he did, my mother said, no, he changed our thinking about ourselves, and you had to have that. Then you had people who were fighting to change the laws. I'm gonna tell you, we need all those hands on deck now. Because now we've got to figure out as I bring you on, Dr. Latrice, what is it that we want here? I mean, because you got these people, you have Pete Hegseth, who's now the head of the Pentagon, who has said openly, I don't want a woman on the battlefield, which means I don't want to pay her equally. Now you've got Tammy Duckworth, the senator from Illinois, junior senator, who is a double amputee. How does he look her in the eye and say that to her? Are you serious? I'm tired of this woke stuff. Really? You want to say that to Colin Powell? Are you for real? So I guess you don't want people who struggle either, because it's very clear Pete Hegseth is personally struggling. I am not slamming him for that, because I don't know how damaged he might be because of what he's seen in war. Now I know everybody's like, oh, don't give him any sympathy. No, I'm Christian. I'm going to do that. But where it's the hypocrisy that bothers me. And I am galled that these people feel that they are superior to everybody. I mean, it's just like, really, Dr. Latrice? I mean, I need to understand the mindset. Because these people really think they're superior to the whole field. And it's just amazing to me that they think they're smarter than everybody. They think they're just better than everybody. And that as you said, Dr. Amar, that they need to omit everybody. Unless I'm subservient to you.
Right.
Because they also want to replace us with AI.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have these, some things are going to have these jobs, but many of the things won't be human. I mean, what is this? Dr. Latrice, what are you looking at? What do you see?
I see a major shift taking place, and I see that people like us have to become super engaged. Many of us have already been engaged in this entire fight, but
Mhm.
we've been sitting in our seats fighting to change the narrative or change the perspective of how we're viewed, period. Now what's happened is it's like a movement on top of us to try to push all of that back like decades. And so for me, if right now people aren't paying attention or they haven't been paying attention up until now, if they choose not to pay attention now, then they are going to have to deal with the consequences of being silent, because there's no way in the world that we can always be compared as less than or not equal to and always fighting for a seat at the table and then constantly getting kicked and thrown crumbs. And we're supposed to just sit by idly and not say anything. This to me is a time now where people need to really unite and become one voice and fight for those things that make the difference for us. See, we don't realize that there's a group of people who have always been strategizing to be better than us, to be at the top. And so for what they've always done is, even in certain workspaces that I've been in, like in the corporate sector, I've always had to prove myself that I belong there. And it wasn't until maybe 5 years into working into the corporate world, I knew that I was not going to be a corporate person.
Mhm.
I knew that that was not the place for me, because I was constantly having to stake my claim and say, hey, I worked hard to get here. And I was like, nobody else has to do this. Why am I doing that? First, I was the only Black. Then I was the youngest. And then it was like I was always put in places where we had no superiors, as auditors and things like that. We didn't have supervisors. We governed ourselves. So we operationally moved around from bank to bank and we did these things. But what I noticed was someone always took a position where they thought they were over me, no matter if we were equal or not. And I constantly had to defend that. And maybe 4 or 5 years into that, I was like, I can't do this. This is not what I'm going to be able to do. Because I thought I was going to be a CPA in the public accounting world and all of that. Oh my God. I started seeing the external side of everything. And once you get on the inside, you just like, okay, no, this is an uphill battle. And so I often like compared myself to Rosa Parks. I would say, like, even when I was going for my doctorate, I worked as a extended, teacher in a lot of districts, school districts. And I would compare these school districts who had the most money and what kind of technology the students were getting versus the districts that most of us were in, and how they're sharing a book for 7 classes. And so I was saying, well, how is this possible? And they have some of the highest paid administrators here. And they were like, well, who is she? And they were wondering why I was questioning it, but I was questioning it because my kids go to those schools. So I'm trying to figure out, if I'm going to teach, I can't tolerate that if I know my kids are facing the same thing. And so I said, oh God, I can't work in the public school sector, because I would be Rosa Parks. I would have to go in and take care of a few people. You know what I'm saying? And the bad part is that when you're viewed as somebody that shakes everything up like that, people tend to say, well, why does she have to say this? And why is she concerned about that? Well, I mean, we have children. We want the world to be a better place when we leave here. There's nowhere in the world can be a better place if you're not fighting while you're here on earth.
Mhm.
So, I'm just saying that this whole notion of eliminating all these things that pushed us forward, it's really a kick in the teeth. And if we don't unite and stand up, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And right now I'm signing on to a letter with CISAR Now, a group I'm a part of, Psychologists for Social Responsibility. We're signing on and we're sending our letters straight to the White House. And they get signed nationally from universities and professors all over. And what we have to do is continue to make these loud impacts like this and not be afraid to speak up. And I think up until now, there's only been a very small handful of us fighting. The other people are sitting back going, I don't have a voice. Nobody listens to me. My vote doesn't matter. They're saying all this stuff. But now they're about to see the impacts of.
Well, let me tell you something. I mean, because we're about to go to Washington, Ariel, and we're meeting with the Democrats. I need them. They should be all over TV today fighting. And Terry, Livonia, Dr. Amar, when you don't see that, how are you going to get these kids? Ariel, I mean, wait.
Look, we didn't see the ADL push back against Nazi gestures this week.
No. What they said was give him some grace. Wait, hold on.
Mm.
That's what they did. No. It's not anything as benign as that. And I'm not saying that you're saying that.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was what they do with white people always. They gave him a pass.
Mm-hmm.
They're quick to call black people anti-Semites.
Mm-hmm.
But
They
someone who
need
gives
more than a pass.
2 Nazi salutes, 2.
Yeah.
And he did it to your face, and then he turned around and did it again. A
Mhm.
man from South Africa who Steve Bannon is saying he is the worst. He is a white racist. Steve Bannon is saying this.
And who was in Germany yesterday and today with the AFG, pushing their ultra-right
All
party
right.
and saying that Germans shouldn't keep feeling bad about the past.
But no, I do not have, and do you know what? I'm not going to wait for anybody else. I'm not going to wait for anyone to fend for me and to defend me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we need to call these people out, all of them. Because these are the same people who are in league with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're denying this girl, this young black woman who's head of the Law Student Association at NYU,
Mm-hmm.
who took a stand for the Palestinians. You saw what happened to her
Mhm.
right after October 7th. Not only was she removed, she's been blacklisted. She's not going to be able to get a job.
That's right.
Economic terrorism.
Jackson, that's where I like to go. Messaging, the message that we are sharing with one another really must be shared with those in the grassroots, in the neighborhood, in the house, in the church. I mean, right on the ground. You know, your dad said, Jackson said that even playing field, they're wiping out the goalposts. They're moving the goalposts. But we know that. As a journalist, I keep saying to folk, messaging, who are we talking to each other? Each other? Or are we talking to the people who are impacted by this every single day? Are they getting what you know, I know, what everyone on this panel knows? We know this. What we have to do is our responsibility to make sure that little Johnny and little Jane and little Shanae and little Leroy, little Muhammad, little, Isaiah, all
And wait a
need
minute,
to know this.
and don't forget Billy Bob.
And that's right, and Bobo.
Because they're coming for Ellie Mae.
That's right. Those are the people that we are responsible for if we're going to make change. Trust me on this one. If there's going to be some change in America, little Bobo, Bobby, Jane, Muhammad, Leroy, and Shanae are going to be the change. But if they don't have the wherewithal, the education, the structure, and the support from the brothers and sisters who look like me and look like Ariel, who look like us on this panel, the movement will not move forward. That's what I'm saying. The message has, and they're ready. We just have to push them forward. They're ready.
Yeah.
Well, they're going on. I mean, what were you about to say, Terry?
I was going to say, absolutely, 100%. I love everything that Livonia has just said. It is exactly right. And one of the things what it made me think of is, so here in Tennessee, I live in Tennessee. The governor thinks he has finally got the votes to cram through a school voucher scheme. That would be statewide. It's been piloted in Memphis and in Nashville. And in both of those places where it's been piloted, the students have not done as well in voucher supported schools as they have done in the regular public schools. So we know that the voucher program is not actually about helping students do better. It is about taking tax dollars and giving them to private schools. Yes. The way it works in Tennessee is you get $7,000 per student to subsidize the tuition, but the average tuition across the state in a private school is $12,000 a year. So that $7,000 is not at all helpful for someone who doesn't have the other $5,000 for that tuition. That's number one. But the main thing is, you talk about, we've got to be linking arms with Billy Bob and everyone across the state. And guess who our natural allies are in the fight to stop the voucher scam here in Tennessee? That would be rural voters throughout the state where they don't have private schools.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking tax money from across the state and giving it to these private schools. Most of the people who are going to take advantage of these vouchers are the parents who are already paying they have $12,000. I'd just love it if someone from this small rural community in Tennessee would give them the $7,000 to help subsidize putting their kid in private school. So the point is, we have opportunities to work with people who have been saying, the DEI is no good and the affirmative action is no good because I'm a white person, I'm a farmer, I'm in a small town, and blah, blah, blah. We actually are building community with rural voters around the issue of school vouchers. Don't know if we're going to win the legislative fight, but what I think is going to happen is we are going to win the larger struggle for linking arms against the billionaire, because what vouchers are all about is totally privatizing the education system throughout Tennessee. Mm-hmm. That is what the Walmart family has always been about. They are trying to they want to destroy the public schools and turn all of education into a private education system. So we've got huge opportunities to work with people that voted the wrong way, that have voted the wrong way.
But I think that we've got to make the point about not just privatization, but as you made the point last week on the show, for profit.
Yes, right. Absolutely. These are the for-profit schools are coming in.
No, look, you're the one who brought this in. You said, wait, because it's not just about privatization. I think we have to understand that these people are basically doing a raid on the government, Ariel.
Yes.
So they keep the wars going because war is a racket. It is. If they wanted to shut down what's happening in the Middle East, in all of the Middle East, they could do it with a phone call because we're sponsoring it. But you know what? Boeing is getting some money. I mean, a company that cannot keep a plane aloft in the sky with people in it.
And if folks didn't catch it, Biden, that small win we got with him suspending 2,000-pound bombs, well, Trump authorized that. And what he said, his reasoning for why he reauthorized those 2,000-pound bombs to go to Israel so it can restart its genocide in Gaza, he said, well, they paid for them. They need to be delivered. They've been paid for and they need to be delivered. And for all that Trump talks about ending the endless wars, and he calls, rightfully, very accurately, calls John Bolton a warmonger, he also was very clear that we will have the strongest, mightiest, didn't say the word, but most expensive military in the world. And I wanted to point out as well, because we were talking about Elon Musk and his little Sig Heil, where that actually plays in. Now, he's a provocateur, right? And certainly that's a lot of what he was doing, but it's also a testing ground, because what they are doing is they are building this scapegoating of immigrants, of people of color, of women, of everything but white Christian men, and where anti-Semitism plays into there, because Jews hold a place of high privilege, including in the Trump administration. Where that plays in there is the way anti-Semitism functions, different from other forms of racism, is it's a punching up. So it imagines this mysterious cabal, this conspiracy cabal that is orchestrating things from above. And that serves to say, for example, after we defeated Jim Crow, the white supremacists had to find a way to explain how people that they consider inferior, intellectually inferior, could win that. And you know what the explanation was? It was the Jews. It was the Jews. The Jews did it. The blacks aren't smart enough, and the Jews did it. And that's what we see with that was behind the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting, that it's the Jews who are bringing in the immigrants. So the way I saw Musk, and everyone fell in line behind it, defending it, was a testing, right? Let's go deeper with this scapegoating, with this racism, by let's even throw this piece of it in there and let's see the reaction we get. And we have the Anti-Defamation League saying, oh no, that's autism, which is really insulting.
I know. It's not insulting. You know, it's dangerous.
Yes.
Because what this man did in our faces, to me,
Yes.
is dangerous.
Yes.
And it's dangerous for everybody. And Livonia, Terry,
It is dangerous because what they did, and you're right, what they did, they didn't want Trump to do that. They didn't want anyone in the administration per se. I mean, the president of the United States. So it was a test. It's like blowing up a balloon. Show up, put the balloon up, and see how we respond. And once again, the progressive, my friends in the Democratic Party, hello, where are you?
Some of them are progressive because, you know, the Democrats, we got a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
My point is, and I'm using the people that I'm gonna always be black, and by the way, I'm gonna be a Democrat. My point is,
I'm a bit black.
Right, always.
Everything else is up for discussion.
Exactly, I'm with you.
Right. My point is,
my line is genocide as well. So,
and the thing about it that we do not do immediate response to racist, denigrating messages in our community. I mean, us.
Wait a minute, Livonia.
Wait, Livonia, can I jump in right?
Let me just say this: and an unbridled sexist. Everything that Pete Hegseth has said has made me go, "Are you for real?"
Yes, I agree.
What?
But can I jump in behind you guys on this one? Because for this to be such a anti-vax administration, what we're looking at is the failure of Democrats, progressives, and people of moral standing to inoculate our society against racism. What they're doing is they're putting that little bit of vaccine into the system again to say, hey, it's okay if, you know, he flashes a Roman salute, you know, and it's like, you know, let's
like
all
an emoji.
Stop the mess. Yeah, like it's an emoji. Let's just all stop the mess. Don't introduce your little bits of racism. Don't hit me across the head with your big policy changes. Don't do any of this mess. I haven't been inoculated to racism. I've been fueled by it. Anybody that closes a door on me, don't worry. I'll create one if I have to. And when I do, I'll leave it open for the next woman, the next person who hasn't had an opportunity. And I'll ask over and over and over, but I'm not waiting on you to do it. So as they try to introduce this little bit here, little bit there, and get us all used to abnormality again, get us used to hatred again, so that they can just continue on by bringing back the 1940s, 30s, 50s, whichever decade was unfriendly to us all. You know,
we need to look at.
We're not the same people. We're fighting back.
We can't be the same.
But you know, but we've always fought back now.
That's true.
But I think that America has also started to mature. We're not the country that we were 60 years ago, 30 years ago, 20, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, Americans, I've got to give Americans a lot of credit now, because more and more people are saying, wait a minute, something about this is not right. You know, and they're saying that about a lot of things, because I even have to push back just a little bit, Dr. Amar, because I don't think this is an anti-vax administration. I think it is unscientific. And, you know, I have a little bit of a science background, but you are a full-on scientist. It is unscientific not to ask questions. And so I want to know if I'm taking something that's safe. And you know what? What I'm saying is right now, what they're doing with this Nazi salute, with the ADL, saying, wait a minute, you're giving this man, you're giving someone who is flagrantly displaying Nazism, you're giving him a pass.
Right.
I got a problem with you, man. With all of y'all, and I've got a problem with Biden. You're an ex-president now. You can say whatever you want to say. Obama, y'all need to speak. You need to call him out. You were just in the room with him. You need to call him out. You're not saying anything.
Right.
You're saying nothing. Pelosi, you're saying nothing. Now, see, no, wait a minute. You're either an elected official or you're a leader or some combination of both.
Right.
Because I mean, y'all are playing with me.
And
Because you,
and
no,
look,
because you,
another
no,
test,
because
another
you
I'm
will
glad you
go
said
into a room and you'll wag your finger in black
right,
men's faces,
right.
but you're
And you
not
don't
going to
have to
call
be a
him out.
right.
Are
You don't
you
have to
for
be a
real?
politician to be a leader.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
right.
no. Well, most politicians aren't leaders. They're elected, and yeah,
right.
I make a difference. It's just like
Yes.
a friend of mine was saying, "Well, so and so's the president. You know, he's a great man." I said, "No, he's got a great
No,
job."
that's right.
He ain't not no. I said, "Doc King's a great man. He couldn't get elected dog catcher." So I'm done with that. Okay. No. When he died, he was the most unpopular man
It's
in
true.
America.
It's true.
I'm done with that. I'm done. Most of the great people I know can't get elected. They can't win these elections because they don't want you in there.
That's right.
But so what I'm saying is now, you know what? The good thing is, look at how animated we all are today. The upside is that this has got us activated. It's got us talking and pushing and figuring out what we're going to do next. See, look around here. Because 2 years ago, we didn't really even know each other and all of that.
That's right. That's
But
right.
now we're saying, wait a minute, we, the collective, we got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited about that. So you know what? I want literally about 30 seconds from everybody. And we're going to, of course, everybody loves getting this crazy coffee clutch together. I'm going to have to get some mugs for everybody. Because people love seeing all these women together on Sunday. They're like, wait a minute, are you going to get the women together again? No, really? And so we're a little early today so everybody can get to their football game. So you can cook something for your husband because I know he wants to see all this, Ariel, all these 50 games that are going to be on today. I don't even know. I don't have crushes on the football players anymore, so I don't care. Yes, I said it.
Me
So
either.
I'm not in love anymore. So I want to get closing thoughts from everybody. 30 seconds, please, so I can get us out of here, make it a nice, tight something. And because we got a lot of work to do. Ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunities. What a joke. That's from the White House website, y'all. So, which is telling a lie on affirmative action
Exactly.
and DEI. You got to be qualified to get in the game. What are you talking about? But to be legacy, you can be anything. The Peter Principle can apply to you. You'll get in because your mom and your daddy went there, or they gave some money. Oops, I think I hit somebody, but not nobody here. Okay, hurt dogs holler. Dr. LaShawn Latrice, 30 seconds.
Yes, I just want to say that I agree with you, Santita. We need to hold these elected officials accountable. We need everybody that's sitting silently right now that should be outraged just as much as we are. They should be using their platforms for that. I'm sick of letting them get away with things like this. And I do not understand how we can continue to ride their coattails when they don't have our best interests. So right now I'm on a quest to start calling people out by name.
Every last one.
Every last one.
Every last one. Dr. Omar.
I just want to say that we have to remember that there are so many fights on so many fronts intentionally that it's not an accident. We're fighting for our rights here in the United States. We're fighting still for the people of Gaza. We're fighting still for the Palestinians. We're fighting for justice in Africa. We're fighting for justice in the world. And so let's not think of ourselves in the camps that they would like us to. It's not that you need to be only with this group of people or only with that group of people to fight. We must have the alliances. One of the beautiful things about Rainbow Push is that Rainbow Push is an umbrella for so many organizations and people who you might not think that you're allied with. But just like Terry O'Neill just said, you can find allies anywhere because justice can resonate with people. When 98 to 99% of us do not benefit from these policies, that's 98 to 99% of us that need to be getting together to fight the 1% that's choking us.
Amen.
Yes.
Ariel Gold.
Yeah, so like I said, we need to look back at history, the rise of the Third Reich, other places in history. What can we do? And we need to be really vigilant and really organized. And we need to look at where we have tools that we are not using. And the Democratic Party, right? We are just that is just flailing along, and that is not what we can have. So Santita, I'm going to see you in Washington. We're going to be there. I don't know if Reverend's going to be there. I don't know if your dad's going to be there, but I know it's going to be a party.
No,
And we are going to make a push to reform that party and have it be effective so that we can use it, so that we have all the tools at our disposal to fight back.
And with their ours, Livonia?
I believe that all of what we said is wonderful, and it's really where we need to be. I'd like to add that it should be intergenerational. Mm-hmm. It should be every race, creed, and color. Those partners that we have, the partners who are ready, it should be from ground up, and that will create what Reverend Jackson has always taught us in Rainbow. Even playing field, then we all have a chance. And it's all about, just so you'll know, when we look at the big picture, this is about money and votes and power. Mm-hmm. And go Lions, I still love you.
Hey, Carrie O'Neill, you got the last word. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know you're going to watch the game. Go on. One of them.
In 2017, in 2020, we hit the streets. In 2017, remember everyone went to the airports when Trump put in the Muslim ban. We hit the streets to protest the man who said you could grab women by their private parts. We hit the streets. In 2020, not only did we hit the streets in outrage about the murder of George Floyd, that was a moment when a large number of white people did hit the streets under the direction and leadership of Black organizations in their local communities. And for the first time in polling, white people said, actually, we have a racism problem in this country. It's the first time the majority of white people said that. I know they're not saying that anymore. I know there's been a backlash. I'm saying that did happen. We have to do it differently this time. The billionaires have taken control of almost all of the mainstream media. The legacy media is now controlled by billionaires like Musk. The social media platforms are controlled by billionaires like Musk. We can no longer just go on Twitter and say, hey, everybody, go down to the courthouse. This is what we're going to do next week. That's not happening. You need to find a group. You need to find a group that you can work with that is already in existence. If you were in Tennessee, I would say, go look up the Equity Alliance. Go look up Nashville Organized for Action and Hope. Go find other organizations that are working at the local level to bring people together, to wake us up and to stop this racial, patriarchal capitalism that is killing our planet and killing all of us in the process.
Well, amen. AM 950 Radio, the Santita Jackson Show, everybody. We need to come together. That is the only way that we're going to make it, as the Lord would work it out. If you want to go far, you got to go together. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. We're not going to go anywhere, unless we link with each other. I see you, Badre Saban. You're saying that, wait a minute. Why are the children and women of Gaza sleeping in the open and the American people watching and not helping them? America is a center for protecting human rights. We've had troubles with our human rights since we've been over here, Badre. And I just want you to know I'm hearing you. And because we are fueling mischief all over the world, throughout the continent of Africa. That's why we put AFRICOM over there. It's the same game everywhere you go. And we're running out of time on all of it. Colombia just turned back. All these people we tried to send there, this is some little brown country and black country. Because now the black Afro-Colombians are now getting in charge. And they're saying, oh, no, you're not going to just roll over me. Everything is changing. And America does not even understand that the world has changed. This is not 1965. This ain't 1945.
Yeah, exactly.
You have people who are saying to you, wait a minute, this is not your oil up under my feet. This is mine. They've lost enough leaders that, yes, we helped to kill. Yeah, all of that. There's something in the air anytime President Trump was forced to say, hey, we're going to talk about what happened with RFK, MLK, and JFK. Something's in the air. I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's something in the air. because every action merits an equal and opposite what? Reaction. Simple law of physics. So as we're pushing forward, of course these people are pushing back. If anything, you ought to feel heartened by that. You ought to say, now you know what, we must be winning. Because they are pushing awfully hard. They have pulled these billionaires out of the shadows and they are pushing against us, and they're pushing real hard. And all we have to do is fight back.
Mhm. And you have a question on here, or you have a comment from A. King, meaning of our organization
Ashley?
are self-funding, therefore we have a problem with speaking out. Fund your organizations, fund them, and think about where you're spending your money. You know, we had Walmart and Target. Well, not Target. Target actually is standing up a bit better, but we had Walmart pulling out right away from DEI initiatives. You have major organizations that right away said, oh no, we're willing to turn back. Don't put your money in those organizations. What are you doing shopping in those places? Take that money, whatever money you were going to spend in that store, and you send it over to an organization like Rainbow Push, the NAACP, an organization that has already established itself in this fight, and then tell them how much time you have that you will volunteer and give to get out there with your feet, your voice, your hands, and fight back. We don't have to worry about anybody else's funding. Kamala Harris raised, what was it?
30
Yeah. She raised all that money on the first day, with bits and pieces from all of us. We can do this. Don't let anybody tell you their money's greener than yours. Put your money where your mouth is.
Well, I tell you what, Jesse Jackson ran a campaign that completely changed American and world politics on no money.
Yeah.
What he did was he moved the people.
Yes.
People said, I'm going to vote. I said, I have no money for you.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have for you is my vote. What I have for you is my work. I'm going to make my own buttons. I'm going to make my own flyers, and I'm going to get my people out to vote. I'll give you a little story as we go.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to edit this and just bring this together. But my mother came back from one of her trips, which she had her own campaign staff. That's what Donna Brazile, as you recall, Livonia, came out of that.
Yes.
Donna Brazile did not work for Reverend. She worked for Mrs. And I want Donna to push and tell that story because she learned about organizing from Mrs. Jackson.
Say it.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, my mother came back a little shook, if you will, because this trip was kind of interesting. They were walking through the airport in Cleveland, and there was this man who was jumpy, was acting strangely. And my mother's friends who were walking her to the plane said, hurry up, let's get you on this plane, Jackie. My mother dropped her bags and turned around. She said, if he's going to do something, he's going to do it in my face, not in my back.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And on that plane, praise the Lord and everything. No, let me just say that. And she wasn't done.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go deep, deep south. And in many of these churches, women are not allowed in pulpits. She wasn't deterred by that. She appreciated the fact that this pastor had enough inner strength and courage to go against the higher ups in our community and let her come in. So in the old black church, at the end of the service, the pastor would go to the front of the front door and you would shake his hand, give him a hug, keep it going. Or they would be in front of the pulpit on the floor and they do the same. So they let my mother stand in front of the pulpit, and the whole people were out in this field because it was a little church in the middle of a rural area in Alabama.
Wow.
And one of these men came up to her, and he was a frail older gentleman, and he ambled up to her. He said, Mrs. Jackson, thank you for being here, but I want you to tell your husband that you all are running for my baby. And my mother said, yes, sir. And thank you for being here. And who was your baby? One of the 4 little girls.
Oh my God.
That's what she said. And she said, it blew me away.
Yes.
Because everywhere they went, people would bring their pennies, their nickels, their dimes, $1 here, $5 there. We had no money. And in fact, our campaign plane, as you remember, Livonia, at the end of 84, well, in the middle of the campaign, we had so little money. We got the cheapest plane that Well, what we could afford, but it was a plane that was in really, really bad shape. And there came a point where the Secret Service refused to let my father fly on it. They said, you can't, it's too unsafe. That plane crashed and our whole crew was killed at the end of the year.
Oh my
That's
God.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Nothing but
That's-
God's grace that got us through that campaign. I'm simply saying to you,
That's true.
$1 billion, you can raise that. But I tell you what we need is a changed mind. That's why
That's right.
I wasn't taking anything away from Malcolm or anybody. I just want us to understand the different roles that we have played
Oh, yeah.
so we can understand, wait a minute. Sometimes someone changing your mind changes everything.
Yeah.
Changes everything. Sometimes, Dr. King had to change minds too. I mean, it's a whole thing, and we have to step back and understand what everybody did, because everybody wasn't fighting for civil rights. The Black Muslims didn't want to vote. That's why when Farrakhan came out and said, when the minister said, I am going to get registered to vote and vote for you, Jesse Jackson in '84, that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, we can't wait till 2026 to change some things. We got to march on Washington. We got to march on the Pentagon. You have to call Tammy Duckworth and say, now this is what we need you to do, because you're a double amputee.
Mhm.
Now you got the head, you're getting a pension from the Pentagon, and the guy who heads it says you didn't deserve to serve.
Mhm.
And we got to partner with a people who don't look like us and who may not be on the same side that we're on. We have to negotiate, compromise, and be an advocate for the right thing to do in America.
Girl, look, I'm over
For
someone who looks
generations.
like me. I've known more people who look like us, who are traitors to us. I'm done with that.
I hear you.
My Baba used to say, a person that you think is your friend will stab you in your back, and the person that you think is your enemy might help you through.
Might be your. I mean, look, I'm talking about, who are you? That's all I want to know. Because the only person on the stage in 2008 who said I would unequivocally support reparations, it wasn't Hillary, it wasn't Barack, it was Dennis Kucinich.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Who lived in a car with his mama and daddy and 7 or 8 or 9 other siblings and never forgot it.
Mm-hmm.
Who got put out of office as the mayor of Cleveland because he went up against the utility companies because they were overcharging people.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's my guy. Y'all got all these other people.
That's right.
I made some history. I want to make a difference. Because I am sick of poverty. How about that part?
That's right.
I am sick of all these children being blown to bits in the Congo, in Gaza, every place else in the world. I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not looking. I want to know what is your thinking. That's what I want to know. Who are you?
Yeah. And I'm tired of people forgetting history. It boggles my mind. When you look at the plaza in front of the Wailing Wall, what you are looking at is the destruction of the Moroccan quarter. The Moroccan as in North African quarter, which had been there for hundreds of years. And in 1968, they gave 3 hours notice to the people in that neighborhood, and they went in and bulldozed it. And now it's a plaza, and we've forgotten. Our collective memories are not long enough, but our collective memories must be long enough to secure justice and to keep it, or we will do the same thing. When you hear people saying Egypt and Syria need to open their border and take Gazans, Palestinians have a homeland. Gazans have a homeland. No one needs to take these people. What you need to do is to rebuild the destruction that you've done, or step out of the way and let them do it themselves. You free people. You don't erase them. And you don't ask us to do the mental gymnastics of pretending that we did not witness their genocide.
And look at our government chipping away at just what you just said, the Tuskegee Airmen story. They're deleting from the Air Force training book, deleting the story of the Red Tails.
You're not allowed to tell the story. I'm
right. Not allowed to tell the story.
In a country with freedom of speech.
Right.
Yeah.
No, just unbridled racism.
Chipping away.
You don't tell the story. I mean, and I'm going to tell you something. as a daughter of two, as a granddaughter of two men who fought in the Second World War.
Mhm.
Last time I saw my grandfather alive, and I've said this to you all many times,
Mhm.
he actually told me about his Second World War experience, which
Mm.
was heartbreaking. I was about to leave the room. My grandmother was standing there, my father, my Uncle Saint, and we were in South Carolina visiting. And just we had a couple more days there, but my father had to leave town and he was on his way to the airport. And so I thought he was, his parents and everybody, there was a little bit of, gonna hug up with their son. And my granddaddy said, baby, no, don't leave.
Mhm.
I want you to hear this.
Mm.
He talked about getting back to New York after the Second World War. Now, mind you, he'd been sent into the World War because one of the town leaders called him boy in front of my father, threw something on the ground and said, pick it up, boy. My grandfather said, absolutely not. He said, no. And that man went down to the courthouse and had my grandfather
Wow.
drafted to kill him.
Mhm.
Well, praise be to God, he came back alive. And when he took the train from New York, when they got to Washington, he was told to move back to the colored car, and then they moved the Nazi POWs
Mm,
to the
mm.
white car.
Oh, right. I heard about that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a movie on that.
And,
Yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
told me about Dachau and Buchenwald, how
I've
how
been there.
he said they sent the black soldiers, and he said, so I got a lot of buddies who were killed, baby. War is never a good thing. War is always awful. He said, don't you ever forget that. War is awful. War is hell. Don't ever, 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 ever forget that.
Yeah.
He said they sent the black soldiers in
First.
My Uncle
because there were
Tom was sent.
landmines.
Samuel Black was sent to
Wait a minute.
Buchenwald to
But he
help
didn't.
free the camp.
Well, hold
That's
on.
right.
Well, number one, they knew if they saw black soldiers that they were not Nazis, but they had landmines all
That's
over.
right. They
Mhm.
checked the landmines. That's
They
right.
did.
So they
That's
were
right.
going to get killed.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So enough of the black folks got killed. Then the white folks were the
And they
white
were
folks were able
following.
to get a little bit of the rest.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
look, we have a whole lot of things. I don't know how many people watch Yellowstone or its prequel, and you see what's happened to the indigenous people in these schools. I mean, you just keep on. They're finding thousands of kids there. Oh, come on, y'all, enough.
Great. Yeah.
And one more thing. Also, in the training program that's been accepted by many, in that training program, not only was the Tuskegee Airmen and the African American story deleted, the female story has
Absolutely.
been
Right.
deleted from that training program. The
Right.
female story, really the guts who wiped your wounds, wiped your brow,
Mhm.
held your
Mhm.
hand as you decided if you had to leave this earth. Those women who are not only the ones that go to the front line, but the
Right.
nurses, the caregivers, women. That whole training program and story is being deleted. No, let me back up.
And also the women who learned how to fly the bombers to deliver them to the men so that you didn't have to have such long journeys for the pilots. The pilots
Mhm.
back focus because the women learn to fly the planes and bring the planes out to them. I don't want anybody telling me that my uterus limits me. You know?
Not at all.
Yeah, really.
Not when I was building Jeeps in Detroit for the war.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But I think what we're being pushed, and I think Terry O'Neill, Lavonia Perryman, Dr. LaShawn Latrice, Dr. Alia Amar, Attorney Terry O'Neill. I think it's important that we all get pushed because we've gotten too comfortable.
Mhm.
I mean, now, because you will hear people say rather flippantly, things have not changed. Oh, no, no, no. You're about to see how much things have changed.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
As they do this rollback, you're about to see that elections have consequences.
Mhm.
But you're going to have to see also the fight that Kamala had on her hands. Because
Yeah.
people were pushing for this no matter who was going to be president.
Yeah.
Let's get real about this. This is the fight the push is on.
Mhm.
That's the theme song of Operation Push, the parent of the rainbow. The
Mhm.
push is on. There's work for us to do. The job is up to you. We can make it a better place to live in right now. Can we count on you? Reverend James Cleveland wrote that song for Push. And it's true. Now the job is, it's time for you to do it.
Mhm.
Now, what are y'all? What is everybody going to do? You might not have money, but as you said, Dr. Amar, you got time.
Mhm.
You can come and volunteer. Our children need to be tutored, Dr. Latrice.
Right.
I mean, we there's a lot of work to do. We
Mhm.
can come together and get some cans of soup and have soup kitchens because people are hungry.
Yeah. That's
What
good.
there is work that we have got to do, and all these people are doing is pushing us out of these comfortable spaces.
Mhm.
Because let me tell you, a lot of folks who were extremely comfortable. I went to college at Howard University. That's where I met you, Livonia Perryman. And the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, that's probably the wealthiest concentration of Black people in the country.
Mhm.
And guess what? These people are losing these, they got pink slipped.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And that's just the Black folks. We're not talking about the Hispanics. You got Hispanics with these ICE raids, citizens who are getting swept up because of what you look like.
Yeah.
You just wait. Now there's some woman whose boss is unbearable, who is threatening her with sexual advances. She doesn't have protections today. Because that's all this is part of this.
Right. Right. Right.
Now what are we gonna do about it?
Mhm.
I mean,
That is the question.
Well, you know what? Let's give some comfort to people as well, because and I'll do it from my tradition. I hope I hope you guys will do it from your tradition as well. But from my tradition in the Quran, it said, "And remember, O prophet, that when the disbelievers conspired to capture, kill, or exile you, they planned, but Allah also planned, and Allah is the best of planners." Now, for clarification, Allah is simply the Arabic word for God. So people planned and they plotted, but God also planned, and God is the best of planners. So for all of us who feel like maybe the fight is bigger than us, if you are fighting for justice, if you are fighting in the way of God, know that God too has a plan, and He is planning something better than your enemies could ever plan.
Well, you know what?
That's
Vanessa
beautiful.
Carroll wrote, "Your arms are too short to box with God."
Mhm,
And old folks would say, "Man plans, God laughs."
mhm,
Okay? Oh, no, 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 no. You're not, my grandmother would say, my great grandmother would say all the time, and she'd start humming when she was cleaning greens or something in that kitchen sink. She would say, "You know what? God will not be mocked."
mhm.
And so now what we have to do is the work.
Yes.
And I think everyone should feel heartened by this because it is this, all of this is waking people up. Even
Mhm.
people who really feel that President Trump is doing the right thing, they're going to get a wake up call too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inevitable. It's coming because they're going to find out that these oligarchs have been on the march for a long time, and they are coming to take the whole government. They're even talking about colonizing space. They haven't worked out what colonialism really means. I mean, it's still. I mean, you mean to tell me, Elon, you want to Jeff Bezos? Y'all want to colonize space? Jeff Bezos said that in time, visiting Earth will be like visiting Disneyland. So what? So we're not going to exist down here? What are y'all doing? What are you talking about? I
And
mean,
on the environmental side, they're trying to privatize water. Just think about that.
they already did that in California. The Resnicks. We're gonna do a
Privatize
story
water.
on them.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a
Yes.
story on the Resnicks who own the wonderful company. That's Palms and all of that.
Right.
They have first right of refusal on Los Angeles water.
See?
Yeah.
Think about
Wow.
it.
Wow.
So you want to know where the water was to fight the fires?
Mhm.
They control it.
That's right.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's happening here in Michigan. You know, they were actually taking the Michigan Water, a company, putting it in a bottle, and their name was on it, and selling the water back to the people in Michigan. True story.
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah.
Story. And this is not in this administration. This has been going on for about 8 or 9 years.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They
That's
took
what I'm
the
saying.
water from here, put it in a bottle, slapped the label on it, and sold it back to the people.
It's just crazy.
That's what I'm simply saying. This is a bipartisan betrayal.
Yes, yes, it is.
It's a transpartisan mess. You have greedy people who are just taking the resources that belong to everybody. Dr. Latrice. I mean, it's Reverend Otis Moss Jr., Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr., who's Reverend Dr. Otis Moss III's father. He was Dr. King's classmate.
Mm-hmm.
He said, God will supply your every need, not your every greed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, yeah.
You got greedy people. But we're guilty. God tells you in the Bible that thou shalt not put any God before the Lord God himself. We have elevated these people. We have idolized them. That is a sin. And we're paying.
Mm-hmm.
We think they're better than us. We think they're more powerful than we. And it's not true.
And I want to go back to a tool. And keep in mind, this is about money, votes, and power. And one of the tools that I was brought up with under Rainbow Push, NAACP, Urban League, AFL, UAW, boycott.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Boycott.
Yes. It's a great tool.
Take your money away from people.
I watched Rainbow Push move a mountain or two. I saw it in the history books. Boycott. It was a message and everybody can participate. You didn't have to have a degree. You didn't have to have a surname or whatever. You could be Brother John, that's all, or Sister Jane. Just show up, like you said, Jackson, with passion and a commitment to making a difference.
Yeah.
Boycott is one of those tools we need to look at.
Yeah.
Boris Huerta created the Great Boycott.
Yes.
Remember that back in the late 60s, early 70s, I guess it was, to bring attention to the working conditions of people in the fields, the farm workers. Yeah, and it works. And the other thing that I think we should also think about is a sit-down strike. Just one day, we are not going to go out and do anything. And on that day, we're going to gather together and give ourselves lots of information about this capitalist system that is killing our planet, that is driving enormous wealth inequality and income inequality. And we're going to learn together. And we're not going to buy anything from anybody. We're not going to go to work. We're just going to learn from each other. A national
tools. Action tools. Action
tools. Yeah.
Well, that's like that play by Douglas Turner Ward, A Day of Absence.
Yes, I was in that play.
And we need to get that back on PBS. That's where I saw it as a little girl 1,000 years ago, when during the Jim Crow era, the white people in this rural southern town woke up and there were no black people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
There was just there were no black people. And so, my thing is, look, we have the power. We have the wherewithal. And I want everyone to walk away from this knowing that we have the power. We're but a thought away from changing the whole world.
Yes. Yes.
These people are not more powerful than we are. They're not. So we have to, come on, everybody, we have to come together. We've got some work to do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to take people becoming uncomfortable. It breaks my heart to know that people are going to lose these houses, but they're going to do that. They've already gotten pink slips. And they got one or two more or 3 or 4 more paychecks coming, and that's it. They did not expect this.
Yeah. But you know what? I want people to remember that the world is wide. One of the comments that we had last week, one of the things we mentioned briefly, was how expensive education had become, and that was intentional because it was blocking, people who may not have means, those first-time college students from entering. And I thought about that because I have a son who's in medical school right now, and he said, I'm not taking on so much debt to get a job that I can never retire. And so he goes to medical school for a whopping $7,000 a year with a degree that will be accepted in the United States, Canada, the UK, he will be able to sit
Wow.
for the same licensure exams. It's an accredited degree at a good school. It's not in the United States. I want people, if you start feeling the crunch, don't think that this is the only space where you can get opportunity. If you have to go away and get your education and come back and serve the communities better, then leave that as an option. But don't let anything stop you on your path. The world is wide. And that is also another means of fighting.
Well, amen. The thing
That's
is,
awesome.
I want people to walk away from this feeling encouraged, not discouraged.
Right.
If anything, I mean, I remember people asked my brother, Congressman Jonathan Jackson, why he was going to the inauguration. Because some people were saying, I'm not, I'm going to boycott, I'm not going to watch it. And then some of his other colleagues were like, well, I'm not going to go. He said, oh, no, I'm going to go. Because if President Trump sees me, I want him to look in my eyes and know I'm going to fight him.
There you go. Yeah.
He said, I'm not playing. And we can't play.
Right.
And we have to stop being so emotional and start thinking, because these people are past the emotion. They have a plan. These people have been working on undoing civil rights, fair housing for more than 60 years. They've been looking at overturning the Brown v. Board of Education's decision for more than 70 years. They have worked at it assiduously, and they have not stopped. The voucher movement is an outgrowth of the Brown v. Board of Education decision. That is all that they have focused on it, and they have not let up a day.
Right.
So when you say, so you need to find an organization that you need to give your time and or your money to.
Exactly.
You need to do it. Because what did my father say? You cannot ride to freedom in Pharaoh's chariot.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
what?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. It doesn't work. Like, you've got to do this yourself. Believe it or not, the untold stories of slavery, among them white people became afraid of having black slaves in their home. Even George Washington did not want, his wife said, please don't leave these slaves to me. She said, they don't like us, George. It's part of the written record. Don't do that. He said, but you can't manage this place by yourself. She said, look, no. Now that was like 70 years or so before slavery was ended. Now, we don't tell the whole story of anything. At some point, these men, these white men, their wives said, you don't give me the vote, you won't have a home, buddy. I mean, it's just real. And it didn't start was it when white women were working with black people for abolition. No, it started at the founding of the republic.
That's true.
Dolly Madison, excuse me, as the kids say, and them, do you really think, as smart, as brilliant as John Quincy Adams' wife was, do you really think that she felt that she didn't have the right to vote?
Right. Yeah.
Huh? Oh no. So we've got a lot of work to do, y'all. And when we go to Washington, Livonia, and Alia and Terry, for this Democratic come together, and I'm only going because Dr. James Zogby asked me to come. I honored me.
What day is it, please?
It's on Friday and Saturday. Everybody, you get their nominating speeches. I said, oh, you said, you sure you want me? He said, yeah, I want you. I said, okay. I got 2 minutes. I'll give it my best shot. But wait a minute. I mean, because these folks don't even know how the party runs.
That's true. Now, that's the truth.
I mean, it's very clear y'all don't know, because you think you're waiting on, you're trying to raise money. You're not trying to register voters. How do you do that?
But they want to maintain the power. See, if you don't know when the date, time, location, and they create an environment where they create the vote on their initiatives, and they come out and make an announcement, and then they ask for your membership dollars and your sponsorship dollars, your boots on the ground. But the structure is created in a bubble.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I tell you what, Livonia, Kamala raised $1 billion. It didn't get her into the White House.
Yeah.
What she didn't do was raise up some new voters.
Yes. Good point.
What she did do was get stuck with a policy that did not work.
Exactly.
Gaza cost her.
It did.
It
Mhm.
cost her. It cost her. But guess what? California, with those black men, cost her too.
You know, I was pointing out within our community a little bit today the difficulty of not having a long-term strategy that could prevent what we've endured just this week and will endure for the next 4 years. But I have to always, reiterate that that doesn't mean I expected anybody to vote for the genocide of their own people. And that was something that, if Democrats are going to really pull themselves back in place to have a vote, they've got to understand progressives aren't these marginalized groups. Progressives are at the core of your base. And just like President Trump was able to speak consistently to the MAGA core of his base, he had that 39 to 40% locked in. Nobody could move that. Lock in the progressive vote, lock in the people who know what they see and will not stand with you as you do evil.
Mhm.
And you will then be able to win elections again. But Kamala had a lot of money and was saddled with that bad policy. And Biden just wouldn't stop. I mean, he was sending money even as she was trying to run. But she
Biden was so
made
angry
choices to
that
speak to the community and to
girl.
amplify the community's
Look,
voice because they were willing to listen.
let me tell you something. What old black folks say: tell the truth and shame the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
He walked out, and it was so clear that he is angry, still angry. I could have won. I could have won. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to
Right.
yourself?
Right.
You got to be joking me.
Right.
I mean, no. She had to run with his staff,
Mm-hmm.
who did not like her,
Mm-hmm.
who refused to let her just let me pivot a little bit. No, she
Mhm.
was. What did Ronnie Patrice say? I don't know if she's the captain or if she's captive of the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And it became clear, Terry,
Mhm.
I think she might be captive of this thing. Because, and we have to do a real post-mortem on the campaign so it doesn't happen again.
Well, we do, but so many Democrats are, riding in Pharaoh's chariot. That's
Yes.
the problem. And look, Kamala Harris herself, coming from Oakland, that's the Bay Area, and has been supported by Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is not a friend of the progressive movement. They are totally into racial patriarchal capitalism. It's a system that's killing all of us, and yet that Ro Khanna of California is very much supported by Silicon Valley. That's his district, and he's supposedly a progressive Democrat. So we have
He pushes hard for progressives. I've met with him. I'll say this about him: he takes his family's civil rights legacy very seriously as well. His grandfather went to jail with Gandhi, and so he walks that talk as far as I can tell. But
he does.
you are right.
And
Yeah,
Rose with your friend, and he's more
he's
than
an
that.
amazing person.
He's someone for whom I have a lot of respect. However, there's something called realpolitik.
Yes, there is.
And he is
He's
representing Silicon Valley.
Yes. And they have their own, just as Terry said, conservative viewpoints.
I believe the Democratic Party must and should and need to hear from and listen to the voters, the people, the folk that they claim that they support, the women that they said that made a difference in terms of these elections. Remember, I didn't make it up. Biden said it, Obama said it, Clinton said it, that it was women who got the Democrats over in the last 20 years, that the women were the best candidates in the last 20 years. I didn't say it, they said it. And so here we are, women now are being eliminated. And I saw the statistic, you can pull it up. This is the first round of politics that less women ran and won in the United States.
Wow. Yeah.
Look it up. I couldn't believe it. I'll bring the numbers next week. But that is a fact that somewhere along the way, that 90% of the women who voted, African Americans, voted for Democrats. What did we get? What did we get?
Well, we got some toxic male perspectives. I mean, from the freeing of Oath Keepers and Proud Boys to the insistence of Biden that he would have been a better candidate. You had a 4-year record. You had 50 years in governance before then, and you got up and you went into a debate after lying to the American people about the status of your health, physical and mental. And the American people saw it and said,
in real time,
no. Yes. So no, you lost in that debate. And they keep saying that you could have come back. You didn't come back at any point thereafter and seemed like a stronger, more capable leader. You seemed like a genocidal maniac who kept sending money to bomb and kill people who were being starved out of their homes. That's what you seemed like. And if the Democratic Party really, really wants to listen, watch who's out there protesting, because those are your people. And what are they protesting for? If the Democratic Party is a party that stands, progressively, the people who have been out on the street, the people losing their jobs, the Columbia University and University of Michigan and Northwestern professors. Northwestern's Muslim chaplain lost her job in the last week. She was removed from her job of 15 years. She alleges because of her pro-Palestinian stance. So you look at these people who are out there protesting and fighting. They aren't allied on the MAGA side of things. They aren't allied on the right. They're allied on the left, but the left abandoned them. So don't ask us to come out. You're killing us in every way possible. You're willing to cede our jobs. Where was the securing of the Civil Rights Act after Black people put Biden back in office? Where was the securing of our voting rights again? Didn't happen. So stop being my friend when you need something and then turning your back on me once you've got it.
No, being friendly.
Yes. And another thing I think that really hurt Kamala was voting, the refusal of the Democrats to really go for the mat on voting rights. Here in Tennessee, we had even more suppression of the vote in 2024 than we've had in previous years. It is just that they are pushing it and pushing it and pushing it to make sure that no Black people in this state are able to vote. And just by increments, little by little, Kamala came very, very, very close to winning. Right, she came within 1.5 percentage points.
He got 49.8. She got 48.6.
Yes, exactly.
Before we close, I wanted to say, because she was a friend of, I'm sure most of us, she was a friend of mine, Cecilia Richards. We lost her. Yes, I just wanted to bring her name. I always
did not know that.
Yes, she passed away last Sunday.
Oh,
last
my
week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let people know who she is. Will always be to us.
Well,
Planned Parenthood. She was president of Planned Parenthood. Her mother was the first woman, and I think only woman governor.
My mother's favorite.
And
and born with a silver foot in his mouth. What was it?
Silver foot in his mouth. Yeah. And
yes. And she was the founder of Supermajority.
Yes, founder of Supermajority.
Founder of Supermajority.
Yeah,
my mother loved Miss Ann. She said that woman, she's just, and she was something else. And so was her daughter. But look at the work.
Yeah.
The work. And I don't think we can ever say that enough. And we thank God for We thank God for her, and we thank
Yes,
God
we do.
that this the struggle that she had,
Yes.
because it is what people don't realize about cancer is that in the final stage,
Mm,
painkillers do not work,
that's right.
and it is a hellish existence,
Mhm.
and she has been loosed of the surly bonds of earth. Thank you.
Yes.
And she is now resting with her mother and with the angels, but
Yes.
now she has laid a
Two
foundation.
powerful women.
Yeah.
Right. We got to
Yeah.
do the work now. And the
Yeah.
thing is, we can do it. In fact, I think that God has brought us here for such a time as this. Thank you, Esther.
Mhm.
This is what we're here for. These people are doing us a favor. I know you might not feel that way,
Mhm.
but you know, Jesus came to comfort the disturbed and to
Mhm.
disturb the comfortable.
Mhm.
For those of us who are comfortable, we've been disturbed. For those of us who have been disturbed, we've been comforted because now some other people are saying, you know what? Now you're understanding how I feel.
Yeah.
So let's get to it, everybody. We have got, do not, this is not the time to be weary. This is not the time to be faint of heart. The quiet part is being said out loud. These people did not tell us the truth about what they were going to do in Gaza, but they did tell you just before, less than a month before October 7th, which Netanyahu said knew was coming. He gave you a map of the new Middle East, which did not include Palestine. And it took up Syria and every place else. He gave you that. All right? These people have been pushing against affirmative action ever since.
Since you and I were in white boots.
No, before then, girl. They said they've been doing it. They are the quiet part is being said out loud. There are some men who are rabidly sexist.
Mhm.
There's some people who are absolutely unapologetically racist.
Mhm.
Here we are. And there's some people who feel that America is for them.
Only for them.
And only for them. But you know what? This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. I mean, from the redwood forest to the deep blue waters, this land is made for you and we. It's
Mhm.
ours.
Mhm.
We owe the indigenous people not just an apology, we owe them their land back.
Mhm.
The Supreme Court said 48% of Oklahoma belongs to them. Give it back.
Mhm.
We're not going to be blessed until we decide to be blessings to people. Give it back.
Mhm.
Give it back. It's not yours.
Mhm.
They didn't discover America that way. You notice that? How the message can be nurtured in a way that you may think that all of a sudden an island popped up and it became America. No.
Wait a minute. You got to discover who got lost. I don't think I need to say anything else. I mean, for real.
Yes.
He discovered,
Messaging.
but I'm like, but yeah, messaging.
Education.
And y'all think that I'm going to believe that he's a genius when he couldn't figure out where he was.
Right. Right.
Original mediocre white man.
Right. Got
Oh my
lost.
gosh.
Got lost.
Got
It's like-
lost.
Yeah, he got
Well, look,
lost.
he got credit for it, right? Right?
Yeah,
Credit for
I'm
it.
like,
That's a whole different kind of DEI. You
And
know?
a whole country walked
no,
into
that's
it.
not even DEI. That's DUI. What was
DUI.
what's wrong with you? Are you serious right now?
Oh, Santita, I'm going to steal that one.
Yeah. No, I got that from my brother. He was like, no, he said, while he's looking at while he's trying to eliminate DEI, we need to look at his DUIs. And I only say that because you know what? It's very clear that he's a troubled guy. I'll say this, as we're closing things out. Like so many of our veterans are. Don't lie about it.
Yeah.
Say, I've been struggling. Yeah, you know what? I couldn't figure out a relationship with a woman. Even my mama came in on me. She's human. A lot of our veterans come back damaged.
Yes, exactly.
Physically and emotionally.
He's a poster child for that.
Yeah. That's right.
But what to me, when you don't tell the truth, I can't help you.
Yeah.
So you're a poster child, Pete Hegseth, for being damaged, for what Matthew Ho calls, oh my goodness, he calls it I forget what it's called, but it's just moral injury.
Moral, yeah. Yeah.
because you have to change someone to turn them into a killer.
Yeah.
And I say that with all the love I have for my veterans because they go in with the best of intentions.
Yes.
I know. But there is no equivalent for a Peace Corps.
Mhm.
If I want to wage peace somewhere,
Mhm.
I think about that. And, Dr. King, as he was leaving the earth, said, you know what? We have won the integration, the desegregation fight, and it was the right fight. But I'm wondering, as I look at America, morally, it's a burning building, and I'm wondering if I've integrated our people into a burning building. Now, y'all, we have to make a decision about whether we are going to step in this building and get burned up, or if we're going to be the fire persons who put the fire out. You put the fire out when you end poverty,
Mm-hmm.
not just by law, but in your spirit.
Mhm.
When something inside of you thinks that it's wrong for anyone to be hungry, to be homeless, to be ill clothed, just to not be able to actualize yourself academically, vocationally, whatever it is, artistically, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's what will make America great. When this is the place where you can't be sick here. When I was in Cuba, when I was about 14 and 15, I got sick down there, just kind of a little bug.
Mhm.
They have a doctor on every block.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was no big deal. There were doctors everywhere. And they got me some medicine and I was good to go. Come on, y'all. Think about that.
Yeah.
Who's uncivilized here?
Right.
They went from being the least literate people in our hemisphere to being the most literate. Who's uncivilized here? Our children are not globally competitive, not because they don't have the capability, but because we want to dumb them down because we don't. Because you know what? Uneducated people are not governed, they're managed.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Educated people are governed. Think about that. Think about that, everybody.
And
You
because the
lose or
Walmart
lose.
need people working at minimum wage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
As
they
if
want.
they train you
Yeah.
to apply for welfare. While
Mm-hmm.
these people are working every day.
Mhm.
And there's no harm in getting relief.
Right.
I ain't got a
If
problem
you
with that.
need it, get it.
If you need it, get it. And you know what? We ought to be generous enough as a society to give it to people if they need it.
Yeah.
You just don't want them to get used to it, because if people get used to it, that means they have a broken heart and a broken spirit. And we need to rebuild people.
Of course. Yeah.
And we can do that. So, you know what, you guys, we have talked for a while today. It has been great. So I'm going to give a couple of intros. Everybody, it's the Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'm sending you all much love.
Mm.
And
Thank you.
everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, as we talk about DEI and everything else. You know, it's the girls on Sunday going into Monday. You know how we do. We make the world a better place because we have got it all figured out. Just give it to some women. Come on, you guys. AM 950 Radio, the Santita Jackson Show. I love you all. Boy, oh boy, this has been